All right.
I am recording.
I am recording.
Ba,
Ba, ba, ba. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 644th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. We are recording this on a different day. With me is Hannah.
On a different day, but the day after, the very next day from the last one. I'm here. I did not go on a very, very long Pokemon walk this morning. I also didn't hop on my exercise bike. That's more of a weekday thing.
Oh my gosh, you only lasted a whole week.
It's more of a weekday thing. We're still on the weekend.
Okay. Bobby also here.
I also played no Pokemon GO. I begrudgingly played Pokemon Sleep while needing to feed Snorlax, and I played way too much Pocket in the last 24 hours or 12 hours.
Can I? Okay, I know we don't really have any sleep news because it's like this week should be Eevee week when this podcast is coming out. I just want to give somebody a quick tip if you hate feeding Snorlax, or maybe you wake up at like 12:06 p.m. and you're like, I missed breakfast. I'm not saying you should do this, but maybe if you go into your phone settings and just change your time zone.
No.
And then open the app, you can feed breakfast. I really wake up to those fresh mountain Denver air. I wake up to that a lot in the morning. I do think here's just a personal side before we get into today's episode. I always hate the like, as somebody who like works for themselves, I would have friends or just people in my life that would be like, you should really have like a 9 to 5 work schedule. Cause like I'll stream a lot at night. Or I'll stay up till like 4 a.m. and then I wake up at noon and then it's like, it's 12:02. Maybe I need to switch my time zone real quick to give Snorlax breakfast. But, look, I'm paying $10 a month for this game. He's getting breakfast every day.
I didn't know this was possible.
He's getting breakfast every day, whether he wants it or not. But I always hated the like, well, things are going wrong in your life, or like we can't ever hang out because you don't work a 9 to 5, or you should adjust your streaming schedule or whatever. First off, there's like so many people in the world that work.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, what? It's not abnormal to not work 9 to 5.
Like, I can tell you the people near the train station near my house, they're working every night at like 9 p.m. to whatever they're doing on the train.
Yep.
Every single day. But I do think that if I lived in California, I would have a better sleep schedule. Because I am like naturally tired at 4 a.m. and then I get up at noon Central Time.
So it would be 2 a.m.
It would be 2. So if I lived,
that's not really how that works.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it is.
No. You know how when you travel to Japan, you get really tired from the jet lag, but then your body adjusts.
Not me, because I'm sleeping on that plane.
So if you're naturally going to sleep at 4 a.m., that's your natural sleep cycle, and Japan is 16 hours ahead of you, that would mean that your natural sleep cycle would be putting you to bed at 8 p.m. Okay, actually that might work. Actually.
Yeah, see? You see?
No.
And especially if you're walking all day, 8 p.m. seems like an awesome time to go to bed.
Just gonna walk myself right into that one. Okay.
kind of on something here. Okay, anyways, there's your Pokemon Sleep segment. Also, just a side note on how Pokemon Sleep works. As the plus works, I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually care when you start it. I think what it does is it sees whatever the end time is and then goes backwards of like it was on for like 8 hours. Because if you change the time zone, Not saying you should, but
Here we
if
go
you,
again.
no one's cheating in Pokemon Sleep. Well, some people are because they got banned.
They got banned, yeah.
So I hit. I'm just gonna give you a situation. I hit my plus at 4:06 a.m., which would mean it would be the next day, and then I woke up at noon today because we're recording here at like 12:30 p.m. And so when I switched it to that fresh Denver air that I need when I wake up, it says that my plus started at 3:06 a.m. and I woke up at 11 a.m.
Interesting.
So even and if I wake up at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon and I switch it to me and Bobby had a sleepover, so I'm waking up in California time. It would then say like, oh, you didn't start it at 3 a.m. You actually started it at 1 a.m. So I think the plus is just saying what's the end time and go back to how you started it.
So
because the plus is also reacting to the time zone change.
I'll give you
but
one that's
it's still reacting to the time zone change either way.
yeah.
I'm not sure this works the way you're explaining it.
Well, so yeah, it definitely just changes the time. So the time zone just changes. So that like if you went to bed, you know, at whatever time you went to bed, doesn't really matter. Like when you change your time zone on your phone, it just the whole thing backs up an hour, right? The whole thing backs up 2 hours, whatever. So everything backs up 2 hours. But what I actually dealt with was kind of the other side of this. I don't know if anybody else did, but on day when we changed the clocks last week. Yeah, I guess it was last week. Was it last week? Okay.
2 weeks ago,
Yes.
according to this
Wasn't
podcast.
it? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, 2
we
weeks
changed
ago.
the clocks on November 3rd.
Yeah.
However long ago that was. I slept until 9:30 in the morning or something. And when I opened the thing, it said I was sleeping until 10:30 because like it didn't take into account that the clocks went back an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was only 9:30 a.m., when I woke up, it told me I was sleeping until 10:30 a.m., which hadn't happened yet.
Sleep apps have trouble accounting for daylight savings.
Okay.
All of them.
So that I was thinking like, yeah, I don't know how it tracks it in that way, but it was like it gave me like more sleep. It was like 10 hours of sleep or something instead of like whatever it should have been because it couldn't figure out the daylight saving time stuff. So I don't know, like when it comes to time zones, daylight, like all that stuff, I'm not sure how it all works, but like it definitely is weird if you start messing with time zones.
The only reason I bring up like the plus moving is because one, if you did hit it at like 4:04 a.m., moving the time zone fixes that.
Yep.
But if your sleep time is like 2:30 and you move the time zone, you are now not hitting Snorlax's like preferred get ready for bed. So then you don't get the reward. So like if I did go to bed, if I did go to bed on time, but then I woke up at like 12:02 p.m. and it's like, oh, I missed breakfast by 2 minutes. Let me move back an hour.
Yeah.
I'm also moving back my start time an hour, which means Snorlax is like, you went to bed too early, which is a weird punishment that game does for you.
No, it is weird, but when you think about it, you want your sleep to be consistent. So I think that's a fairly good thing, actually.
You want your sleep to be consistent. I love inconsistency.
Science-based, generally, keeping a consistent sleep schedule, including on the weekends, is a good thing. I think that's one of the tips that Pokemon Sleep tells you when you're cooking your Snorlax food that nobody reads, probably.
So what's interesting to me is that if the time zone moves, that the like time you're supposed to go to sleep doesn't move. So like the sleep, whatever your sleep set time is, like 2 a.m., let's say it's 2 a.m., and then you move your time zone, it's still 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Even though you've switched your time zone.
Yes, that makes sense.
You'd think it would like switch, that would also switch like, with the time zone.
This is why Pokemon Sleep is actually a terrible game for anyone who travels. Like if you're like a businessman, if you're like Larry and you're walking onto the airplane with your suitcase and you're constantly traveling and you're like in hotels like two times a week.
Surprise, surprise, jet lag and changing time zones is bad for sleep. Actual sleep and Pokemon sleep.
Like, if you were to go to Japan this week, say goodbye to S ranking at all. Like, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
And you're punished. You're punished in Pokemon Sleep for like traveling to a different country.
Well, to Hannah's point, it does not let you. It doesn't. You're sleeping worse, probably. So.
And we haven't mastered how to like get it to work on the plane.
Yeah,
Correct.
That might not ever happen.
You just have to like manually enter.
Yeah, I'm curious if the watch support works with that.
But the watch, you can't like. You guys have watch. Well, I have a watch. I've never used it to sleep. I was like, you guys have watches.
You probably wear it on the plane, though.
Yeah,
I do.
Mm-hmm.
But do you don't tell the watch you're going to sleep?
You can.
You set up like a sleep. You do a sleep focus mode, and then you can put it into the sleep focus, and it's kind of like telling your watch you went to sleep.
Okay, I will try this. This is good.
It also does base it off like your movements as well. So like even if you put the sleep focus mode on, it's not like the Go++ where you're like activating a sleep mode that the Pokemon Go or Pokemon Sleep would track. Like you still have to have the watch still for some period of time for it to know it's like you're actually asleep.
Yeah, but still is relative since it's attached to your body and it's tracking your heart rate and all of that. I feel like it might have a better chance of telling that you're asleep if you fall asleep on a plane. But this is only if you are actually falling asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, like my plane strategy is always the same. It is have like an 8 a.m. flight. Don't go to bed the night before. Bring Benadryl. And then wait for the dinner service, which is usually like 30 minutes after you hit altitude. Eat and then take the Benadryl and pass out. And then hopefully wake up and be like, we only got 2 more hours till we land.
That would never work for me. I would just become more anxious as I lose my, like, with not sleeping the night before. I'd get on that plane and be like, I would not be able to sleep. I'd be even more like scared the entire flight.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to fall asleep.
For you,
but
Bobby,
it fixes the jet lag. Because I'm leaving at, I think my flight's technically at 10 a.m. So I should be at the airport at like 8. And then I land at 2 p.m. the next day. And you don't want to like land at 2 p.m. and be like, I'm tired. Because then your sleep schedule is definitely going to be messed up. You gotta stay awake until like at least like 8 p.m. before you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's come full circle. We got Steve going to sleep at 8 p.m. again.
I am curious if it will track your sleep on your watch properly. We will see.
Yeah, you should
try
the watch.
But my worry with like even pressing that button is it doesn't work, and then it doesn't let me manually hit data, which is such a complaint of this game. Is like you can't adjust data at all.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
No, but like if I'm paying, okay, I got a bone to pick. I didn't know we were gonna have a huge sleep segment. If I accidentally like get into my car and my plus is in, hold on, bear with me.
How do you accidentally get into your car?
If I accidentally stumble into my car, no, if I get into my car and I have the plus in my like sweater pocket, my hoodie pocket, and then I put my seatbelt on, and all of a sudden it goes pee, and then I'm like sleeping as I'm like driving home. Like there's no way for me to. This has happened for the right. This is why I know that. There's no way for me to tell the game like that was an accident or like please don't count that. It's just like you have new sleep data, and you slept 2 sleep points from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and here's your premium biscuit that you're going to use on the one Caterpie we found. Like no premium biscuit tonight.
But hold on, you don't have to sync that though. So like, you don't have to sync that research, and then the next time research comes up, it'll just show you. Doesn't it just show you both of the like sleep things that happened?
I think you do have to sync any research it picks up.
Is that only the watch then? I know on the watch, like I had it set up where I had accidentally done something like that, and then
You accidentally tripped into your car.
I accidentally tripped into my car and then slept on the way home or something. No,
Crazy.
but I remember I had two data points when I went to do research, and it let me like delete one of them. So it didn't actually take that research as a research. And then I was able to actually select the other one. And as I'm saying this, I'm now wondering if it might have been that I was tracking with the Go Plus Plus and my watch at the same time to see what would happen.
I
And
don't
it
know
let
if
me
the
choose between the two. But I remember clicking on something and there were two data points. And I was able to actually, there was a trash can icon next to them both. And I could delete one and I could actually choose the other one. So I thought it was based on like having done the sleep thing once, turning it off, and then the next time I went to go sleep, it now had two things recorded, and I was able to delete the first one.
Yeah, that might be from getting behind. Like if you have multiple sleep segments before you check the app. I think that might happen. That happens to me a lot, but I'm usually too tired to figure to
Yeah, I don't
remember.
ever remember a trash button. But also like it doesn't tell you before you trash it like how long that session is.
I think it does.
It did. It was showing me the times, and it was like it was this to this, and then there was another one above it that was like it was this time to this time, and I was
Yeah.
able to delete one of them.
I can very vaguely imagine that screen.
I'll try
I
it
think
today.
Bobby's right.
I'm gonna try it today.
Was that updated? Because I feel like when the game first came out, there was like nothing.
No, I think that's been there. I think it's just that you always check the app and use the app at the right times. Steve, you don't get behind.
Oh, like you're like piling them up.
Yeah.
Right. So like you accidentally do it once and then don't check research and then do it again, like when you go to sleep that night. And I think the next day you're able to look at both of those data points and then remove one and then only choose like the newer one. I think. But I'm
We're
I'm
not
gonna try
certain
this
about
today,
this.
actually. I'm gonna try this and see if it works.
I mean, it's like not a surprise, especially on the show where we say like the worst part of sleep is the sleeping. Like if you do accidentally mess up or you like forgot to record a nap, the journal part of the game is just useless. Like I would never go back to the journal part of the game and be like, okay, yeah, these were actual proper sleep sessions.
Well, that's because you pregame your sleep every night.
No, I'm
Steve's
saying,
waking up in Denver. He's sleeping while he's brushing his teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
he's tripping into his car and driving around the town sleeping.
And then when I do try to play properly, the game is like, nope, you travel, you went to Japan this week. You're not getting any extra rare candy.
He's
How
like,
dare
finally.
you leave your bed? It's really 2 weeks though. Like you get the punishment on the way there, and then you get the punishment on the way back.
Yes,
Well,
just like how it's bad for your actual sleep and brain.
You're traveling too
both
long.
ways.
This is your
I've
fault.
mastered
This is how travel works.
sleeping on the plane.
As someone who's never tried playing Pokemon Sleep on a plane, what is the thing that keeps it from working? Is it the moving? Is it like the fact that the plane is like moving through the air, so like the shakiness of it makes it not like ever think you go to sleep, or is it that it's going so fast?
I think it's the even if you can't feel the turbulence, the like low level of turbulence doesn't let it sit still for the 10 minutes it needs to.
Okay, so we've been over this before, but what about some kind of device that is like not anti-gravity,
like a shock
but like,
mount?
Yeah, so that, like a gimbal, like put your Pokemon Go Plus Plus in a gimbal or something, and so it doesn't move for 10 minutes.
You could. Okay, so if you were like first class, hear me out. If you're the first person on the plane, you could activate it as the plane is still loading.
Yep.
Especially if you have like one of those lay down seats. And then because it hit its 10 minutes, then the amount of turbulence shouldn't matter. It would just be like a snoozing. Is it snoozing or dozing is like the lightest one? Dozing, I think, is lightest.
Just
It would-
activate it before you get on the plane at
That's what I
that
was
point.
thinking too. Just do it.
Yeah, but I think the walking down the tarmac would be enough for it to tell you like you've moved this device.
Just
Mhm.
hold it out in your hand.
I've
still
thought about
enough,
this. I've
on
thought
the
about
walk,
this.
and nobody will think it's weird. No flight attendant or person checking you in will think it's weird that you're holding a small circular device on your hand as still as
Mhm.
possible as you walk into a
Mhm.
plane. But I think Hannah's right though. Like try it before you get into the.
Or just right after you get on the plane. I feel like there's plenty of time as everybody's boarding, unless you're at the very last boarding group.
Or
Yeah.
buy a first class ticket. That's
Or
the
that.
the real win. First class ticket to play Pokemon Sleep.
You know how much a first class ticket is in today's economy? It's like a $6,000 upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the global wild area event that anyone should be able to play in Pokemon Go. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break. So when this podcast goes up, it will be the day after the wild area in Fukuoka, which I would have played at. I'm sure it was good. Because, yeah, I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure it was fantastic. So there is then the global wild area that will be coming this week. And there is a lead up to the event called Into the Wild. So that will take place Monday, November 18th, which is when this podcast comes out, until Friday, November 22nd. Toxel will be available to hatch in 10K eggs for the first time globally. And if you're if usually it says if you're lucky trainers. Niantic is now saying especially fortunate trainers might hatch a shiny Toxel.
They got tired of your mocking antics, Steve.
Uh-huh.
Which to be fair, not to defend Niantic, but I'm pretty sure they're saying, yeah, good luck getting one of these.
Yeah, actually.
That
Makes it sound even less likely, just slightly.
You're more likely to get struck by lightning than to hatch a shiny Toxel, but give us your money, please.
That's like, I feel like that was the same or similar wording to when the shiny Galarian birds were released. It was not just like if you're lucky, you'll find a shiny one now. It was like
if you're really
extremely lucky,
yeah,
and everything in the universe lines up at the same time, trainer, you will find a shiny Galarian bird.
Okay, I know we always drag Niantic. They deserve it. Totally, sure. I actually think this language is so Pokemon coded and not like Niantic coded.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah.
Because don't you like remember in like even current Pokemon games, but older Pokemon games, they would like give you the most. Do you remember like in X and Y, if you wanted to check your IVs, you went to like one guy that was like 2 houses down from Friend Safari, and he wouldn't even tell you what the numbers were.
Yeah, you had to know the right words.
Yeah, he would be like, oh, this Pokemon is like beautiful on Mondays, but Tuesdays it's looking a little down.
And
you're
that's
like,
how Pokemon Go was too, before they introduced the IV bars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's just like how Pokemon Go was.
Yep.
So like,
it's true.
Anyways, I'm not trying to defend Niantic, but I do think that like the Pokemon company is like you need to come up with something that's more rare than if you're lucky trainers, but you can't say that. It has to be some like obtuse like but that like that X and Y guy gave you like the craziest answers to be like, is this 30 or is this 31, man? Like just tell me. And like why like what it wasn't until Sun and Moon, or was it even Ultra Sun and Moon where they would just like tell you the number finally.
I want to say Sun and Moon even because isn't it like amazing was that stat was 30 and or something, and then 31 was like perfect, or there was like there was some kind of terminology. it wasn't just numbers and sun and moon.
Yeah.
And the wording was a range as well, wasn't it? So if it's like it's good, then it's like somewhere between like 15 and 20, or it was something like that, right? I think there was a range too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially fortunate trainers. There will be a paid Into the Wild paid ticket. Enhance your experience with a paid ticket. Enjoy daily research, additional bonus. Perfect for trainers who want to make the most of this event. You can gift the ticket if you want. Ticket will be able to purchase from November 18th to November 22nd for $5. You all have $5, right? For $5, you can get. Jeez, this is insulting. This is the first time I'm reading these rewards.
Oh no.
Just want to remind everyone that Niantic did not pay for me to go to Fukuoka. There was no flight. There was no hotel compensation. You get 20 Pokeballs.
Oh.
We can just stop there. Each day.
That's...
So you're getting 100. You're getting 100 Pokeballs total, technically. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Sure.
Each day, you're getting 20 Pokeballs, 1,000 XP, 2,000 Stardust, 3 Toxel Candy, 1 Toxel XL Candy. So just times all of that by 5, assuming you're playing every day. You will also get a bonus up to 2 free raid passes by spinning a gym. So I guess if you do like to raid, the $5 pays for itself in raid passes. Everything else is just extra. You will get extra 5,000 XP from completing those raids, and you will get 1 additional candy from 4-star, 5-star, Mega, Ultra Beast, and Primal raids. If you do said raids.
So this is a raid ticket. Everything else is some really weird decision of adding on the least they possibly can to have a list of items that is included with the ticket.
Is hilarious. I'd rather get no Pokeballs than 20 Pokeballs.
Yes, that's
maybe
weird.
There's like one person at Niantic that's like, okay, the people who love raids are also constantly running the Go++, so just give them Pokeballs.
Yeah, I guess, but they should have a plus that lets them use the other Pokeballs.
Yeah,
John Hankey don't like that. John Hankey not a fan of the gotcha devices.
I assume there's more details to this, but it's saying like Ultra Beast raids and stuff. So are there Ultra Beast raids and stuff happening during this Into the Wild?
I don't think so.
Why would it say that?
Oh, I don't know. They're not saying.
Oh, there's 2 tickets, right? Is there 2 tickets? You just went over the first one.
There's another ticket, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I when they're saying 1 candy from 4 and 5-star, if you don't say Mega, Ultra, and Primal, even though like, I guess you could argue, like a Mega is like technically a 4-star raid, and Ultra and a Primal.
Oh, I guess you could have a 4-star raid that is.
There are Ultra Beasts. Nihilego is in 5-star raids on the Tuesday.
Wait, why are they bringing Nihilego back for this event?
Because they are.
Oh, because it's poison. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
It's poison. There we go.
The wormhole just happens to open. Nihilego's like, I'm poisoned too. All right, that's fine. We
should have Xurkitree too then. We should. We probably don't, but we should.
That might be on my oh no, we don't. I scrolled down. There is no Xurkitree, just Nihilego. Okay, so for another $5, so you can spend $10 before this event even starts. So for this $5, you will get the same thing: 20 Pokeballs, 1,000 XP, 2,000 Stardust, 3 Toxel Candies. So I guess if you're spending $10, that's 40 Pokeballs a day. In no universe is that ever worth it, but you could.
Well, Yes, but there's other things in the ticket too. I'm starting to see how these work. I still don't understand the Pokeballs.
Well, Pokeballs do cost money, right? I mean, like I've never bought
They
them myself,
do, but yeah,
technically you
So
could.
for the Into the Wild hatch, you're getting increased chance of hatching Toxel from 10k eggs. Sure. Okay. Half egg hatch distance, 2 times Stardust from hatching, 2 times XP from hatching, 2 times candy from hatching, and then you will get out 5 single-use incubators from spinning Pokestops, so 1 a day. Which
I like that more than the
Have they-
raid one.
have they done it before where by buying a ticket you get an increased chance of hatching a particular Pokemon? I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah,
They have?
I think they.
Yes.
This is not the first
Well,
time
Okay.
they've done that.
I know
There's
they've done
probably-
it in events, but
yeah, in events, it was like Hoenn Tour, you would be more likely to get Carnivine,
mhm.
Relicanth, and Chatot. No,
Mhm.
Chatot was not Hoenn. Whatever the
Where
other
you're
third...
thinking about the Sinnoh too. Sinnoh, yeah.
Sinnoh and Hoenn Tour both had like buying the egg thing got you more of the
Yeah.
better eggs. But they didn't say like, this is slightly weird because when you got those tickets, it was like you were just more likely to get 10k eggs and those Pokemon were in 10k eggs.
Right.
Where
Mhm.
this is saying like, unless this is saying you're just more likely to get 10k eggs and that's why you will see more Toxels, because I don't know how the game is determining like the
What's gonna
Toxel
hatch
itself.
from the egg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they get around the gotcha laws.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Right.
So I'm guessing that what they're saying is you're just going to get more 10k eggs, and because you're getting more 10k eggs, you're getting a higher chance of Toxel, which is like the legal loophole that is correct, and that also keeps them out of like gotcha territory. Because I don't know how else they would do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think this is a better ticket than the raid one.
It is. The half egg hatch distance is always a good thing. And all of the hatch bonuses, Stardust, XP, candy. This is, if you walk around to hatch eggs in Pokemon Go, this is not a bad ticket to get.
So 95% of America does not need this ticket because we're a car culture and you're not going to be walking anywhere.
You still take walks to play the game, except Hannah nowadays. She takes long walks and doesn't play Pokemon Go.
That was a single long walk.
No, I mean like when I do think about like the hatch stuff, like I think a lot of the hatch stuff is an incredibly good deal when you're at an event because you are walking so much, and usually it's like you don't have a car because you're in a new city, and so you just hatch a lot of eggs. Like when I'm sitting here in my office and I don't do any traveling for like a month. I'm not in any other city. I'm just like living my normal, boring American life. I'm hatching, if I'm lucky, like 1 egg a week, like 1 5k egg a week. Because I'm just like, I gotta drive to the post office. I gotta drive to UPS. I gotta drive to Target to buy groceries. And my time walking around Target is not enough to hatch an egg. But like last time I was in Japan, I was hatching like 4 eggs a day.
Yeah,
because I'm just like I'm walking the subway or the trains is like sometimes just enough vibration to also just add bonus steps. Like like you're just hatching so many more eggs. So like if I lived in like Barcelona or Madrid or Tokyo or Osaka or like anywhere where it's like I don't need a car.
A more walkable place.
I mean,
exactly.
I was going to say, like, you don't have to go to Barcelona to get that, though. I mean, a lot of America is fairly spread out. If you live, like, I actually live in a place that has a lot of walkable stuff. So I actually do walk quite a bit to go do things. Like, during my day, I am more likely walking to go someplace than driving just because of how close I live to.
Yeah, but that's definitely not all of America. That's definitely not most of America.
But I was going to say, like, do you not take like a walk around the neighborhood or anything like that sometimes?
I do. I will take, well, it's been raining the last like 4 days, but every day I try to do my 2 kilometers or whatever in Pogo, which is like literally like the 15-minute incense.
Right.
And I don't specifically do that for Pogo. I just do that because like I don't want to die. So
getting out and walking is usually a good thing for people.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I will say Pogo encourages that more, which I guess thank you, Niantic, for caring about my health. But like because of the max raid particles and the 15-minute incense. And I should spin a Pokestop to keep my streak going. And I like all the Pokestops are literally like 3 minutes from me in every direction. So I just got to pick a direction and walk 3 minutes and to spin it. Like I will give Niantic credit. I know we said a bunch of bad things about Niantic, continue, but like because they've added more points of interest and because they added that incense, it does give you it gives me at least a bigger incentive to walk around the block every day. But you know, if I lived in New York City, I'd be hatching eggs nonstop. But 15-minute walk around the block is not making it. It's making a dent in a 5K egg, but I'm not getting a 5K egg done after 15 minutes.
I think the thing that I don't like so much about the daily incense is 15-minute timer, right? So and it spawns based on distance walked, not like once every minute or whatever, like a normal incense would, right? So if you're standing in a place for a certain period of time, you're not going to get any more spawns, right? That's like
it spawns once every however many seconds, maybe once every minute, but only if you are walking. It's not based on distance. But yes, you do have to be walking.
You have to be walking. You have to be moving though. Yeah. So you can't just sit in your house.
I thought if you're like power walking, you get way more spawns.
You do.
Like,
that's why I was thinking it's not once every minute because
some people can get that up to like 28 spawns in 15 minutes.
The faster you walk, the more Pokemon spawn. But
okay, I was wrong. Nice.
But then that like keeps me from wanting to do like a max raid on my walk because I want the spawns to keep coming.
Yeah.
But like I also pass a gym or something and it's like, oh, I kind of want to do that raid.
Yeah.
But I don't want to stop walking.
You got to do the 15 minutes out and pass all the things without interacting with them on the way there and then do all the things on the way back.
I guess that is what I got to do is more exercise, which is not a bad thing in my case. So, yeah.
The wild encounters for this week will be Ivysaur. We're just skipping right over Bulbasaur, I guess. Ivysaur, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Alolan Graveler, Magnemite, and Magneton, Ghastly, Haunter, Mareep, Flaffy, Roselia, Gulpin, Luxio. I think it's Luxio. Stunky, Whirlipede, Emolga, Fungus, Dedenne, Grubbin, and Togedemaru. Everything can be shiny except those like middle stage Pokemon I said.
Yeah. Why? They should have done Bulbasaur so that you could be shiny and it's still grass poison, right? So
yeah.
Maybe they didn't do Bulbasaur to avoid the people complaining that they caught a Bulbasaur.
There's been so much Bulbasaur.
Well, no, they caught the Bulbasaur, but then they can't like G-Max or D-Max the Bulbasaur. So it's like... Actually, I think Ivysaur is better because you get more candy.
True.
For your G-Max Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
Technically, if you're to Pinap it.
That's true. Okay. All right. You made the argument. I'll take it.
You're welcome, Niantic. 3-star raids will feature Weepinbell, Haunter. Get your 3. Who's doing 3-star Weepinbells? Weepinbell, Haunter, Flaffy, Charjabug. 5-star raids on November 19th will be Nihilego. 5-star raids on November 20th will be Tapu Koko. 5-star raids on the 21st will be my favorite electric Pokemon, Origin Form Dialga. 5-star raids on the 22nd is my favorite poison Pokemon, Origin Form Palkia. All of those can be shiny. Your max raid battles starting for this week will be Drillbur, which can be shiny. It cannot Gigantamax, so feel free to hunt all the Dynamax Drillburs you want. Also, they're really good against Toxtricity when Toxtricity to be used for the global. Remote raid pass limit will be increased to 20 from Monday the 18th to the 21st. There's no limit on remote raids Friday through Sunday, so Niantic is more than happy to take all of your money that weekend. it is saying that Toxel is only in 10k eggs. All you're getting is Toxel from 10k eggs. So if I would have read ahead, that would have answered the question of why they're giving you a higher chance of Toxel. So I'm very confident now that you buying the ticket is just more likely to get 10k eggs, which if you bought the ticket, that means those eggs would be cut in half. So you're getting Toxel at 5k eggs. There will be a collection challenge. There will be new field research. Your Max Monday, which I guess we didn't talk about in the show, where they're doing max raids every Monday from 6 to 7, is going to be Drillbur.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. Did they say, is that just like literally all the max raids are just going to turn to Drillbur for an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like now they have Max Mondays, which good alliteration, great.
Uh-huh.
The Spotlight Hour on Tuesdays.
Yep.
And then Raid Hour on Wednesdays.
Yep.
And I know there's always like the people that are like from 6 to 7 is a bad time, but there is like no way Niantic has not determined 6 to 7 is the best time based on their data of the amount of players playing.
Yeah, they've got to have that. And remember that one time when the raid hour was 12 to 1? When they first came out with it, the raid hour was 12 to 1 on Wednesdays.
Because they expected like business people to like sneak out of their offices for lunch.
That's exactly what I did. On my lunch, I was on my lunch at work.
You were the perfect customer.
I know. I loved it. When I was working in an office, it was great because there was a group that would meet up at the raid spots for the 12 to 1. And I think it only happened like once or twice, but it was great. And then they're like, oh, we're going to try 6 to 7. And I was like, I'm always driving home at 6 o'clock. I can't do this. This is not the time. So, yeah.
You do the raids and then you drive home, Bobby.
I had kids to go home to. I can't just be like, hey, I'm going to raid till 7 o'clock and then come home just in time to basically put the kids to bed.
There was, when I played you thought I was going to say Destiny. When I played Titanfall 2, they did this in Titanfall where they had it was like a bonus XP hour every day, and I'm pretty sure it was like 6 to 7, and so you would get the most amount of Titanfall players in the game, so your queues would be way down, you would get the double XP, the game felt more balanced because there was such an increase of players that you were getting properly put into like you should be like bronze and this person should be platinum. I actually don't think Titanfall had bronze and platinum. I don't remember what the system in that game was called. Most systems is like bronze, platinum, whatever. But it was something when the 1 month I was into Titanfall 2, it was like I got home, would like throw some laundry in, I would like make a snack and then be like, oh, Titanfall bonus hour is about to start from 6 to 7. So yeah, there's never going to be a time where like everyone in the world is like, this is perfect. Thank you, Niantic. Like you did it. Like, but I am assuming that based on all of their data, that they're like, we know we have the most amount of players between 6 and 7.
Yeah, that must be good, because otherwise, like, yeah, why keep it that way, right? If they're like not getting a good amount of trainers out there playing, there's no benefit to them. So I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
it's also like, at least in the Midwest, it's like dark at 6.
Oh, it's fully dark at this point.
Oh yeah, it's dark here.
It's dark by 5 at this point.
Yeah, it's not light out at all at 6 o'clock right now.
The only thing that was different from the global Go Wild area, and I'm very confused about this choice. So they announced that Origin Form Palkia and Origin Form Dialga, which is the first time this year they're returning since February.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like 8 months.
Yeah.
They're going to be in raids for both in person at Fukuoka and global. But then they were like, that's not good enough. here's Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon. Which is like...
I mean, these are Pokemon that have special abilities that other Pokemon do not have. They do have to bring them back every now and then, and the time to bring them back is an event.
Then they're my 4 favorite Galarian legendaries for this wild area.
But like, you're 1,000,000% right, Hannah. They have abilities. They're really popular.
Yep.
But you would think that like bringing both of them back at the same time, on top of debuting for the world Gigantamax Toxtricity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the primals don't have abilities though, right?
They don't have abilities, but they have more types that they cover.
They each have 3 types to cover.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking more like adventure effects.
Yeah, yeah. The origin forms have the adventure effects, but the primals cover more types when you mega primal them.
Primal reversion
primal reversion them. Yeah.
What's that verb? Reverse them? I don't know.
So like raid wise, I think there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
So for in 3-star raids on Saturday, it's Snorlax wearing a jacket, and then 2 Pokemon.
I forgot about that.
Yep,
totally
that's real. I forgot that was a real thing.
In the jacket.
So Snorlax wearing a jacket in 3-star raids, and then 2 Pokemon you don't care about. And then 4-star raids are Toxtricity amped, and then Toxtricity low key. 4-star raids. So that wasn't an error before. Usually 4-star raids are what spawns more stuff. So we don't know if you defeating the Toxtricity spawns anything. I don't think so, but that's what 4-star raids are supposed to do. Spawn.
Well, Mega Pokemon are also 4-star raids, right? So
yeah,
they don't spawn more.
They're
Pokemon
using the icon of the blue and white 4-star.
Oh, really? They're using the blue and white egg?
Yeah, they're using the blue and white egg.
Huh.
5-star raids are going to be Origin Form, Dialga Palkia, and then Primal raids, which I guess you could say are technically 6-star raids, are Kyogre and Groudon.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the traditional raid thing. And then they're saying Gigantamax Toxtricity will be in 6-star max raid battles during the event. And then they're also saying that Drillbur, Excadrill, Toxtricity amped form, and Toxtricity low key form will be in max raid battles.
Yeah.
Excadrill will too?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of content.
I am really glad that we have the traditional raids and the max raids separated out for this, because the max raids, you want to make sure those are spawning. With how many different raids there are in the traditional raids, I am a little bit concerned about people being able to find Snorlax with a jacket. Because I'm kind of seeing the primals and the origin forms as these are available for people who don't have them yet, because they do need to bring those back every now and then. But because they need to be in raids at the same time as other things that people want to raid, which is mostly going to be the Snorlax with the jacket, and I guess Toxtricity, right? But the traditional raid balance is going to be tricky. There are going to be a lot of things in there.
It's just like, I'm not complaining. I literally said this is like a lot of content. I really do think it is. Like, that's a lot of different things you can raid. Like, remember, like even the summer for Go Fest, it was like, what's in raids? Just Necrozma. I did like 140 Necrozmas. Like, that's all there was, though. It was just like, what are you raiding? We're just raiding Necrozma. That's all there. That's all there is. This is like the one thing we're doing. And now it's like, here are 4 incredibly popular legendaries and a new Pokemon that, if you don't care about the D-Max or G-Max thing, I think putting Toxtricity in 4 stars where you and like one other friend could just be like, cool, I can get one of each, or I could grind this out to get shiny. Putting a brand new, and like that works, whether or not like you care about that. Like Druddigan, Drampa, Turtonator, it 1,000,000% works in the sense of like hardcore raid people will spend their $2 or their $1 over and over and over again to get a shiny Drampa. So
You can remote too, which is the other helpful thing, right?
Yeah.
So like having the remote option for that is good too.
so you have like 4 popular legends that will make them a ton of money. You have the Toxtricity debut that will make them a ton of money. You have a Snorlax and 3 stars that will make them a ton of money. And that's not even touching the D-Max or Gigantamax stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, not a complaint. Really cool. It just also seems like, it kind of seems like for the first time, like too much. Like I think of like Mall of America, where there's usually 7 gyms and then 5 to 7 D-Max spots, because those can obviously change every 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, unless raids are going to cycle out every hour, if I'm just looking for Snorlax,
Yep.
and those
And
keep
we know
turning
that
into
Snorlax raids are going to be rarer than the others to begin with.
Yeah, because we're not even saying like there's Venusaur raids, Luxio raids. I don't know what the other 2, but like who's raiding though? Like who's doing a 3-star Venusaur 8 years into this game?
If it was wearing a jacket, I would, but you know.
like it. Niantic always does this, where they like release an event and it feels so like not worth it. It's like, why would I buy a ticket? You haven't really announced anything. Like even when we were talking about on the show, the 3 of us were like, it really feels like they need a Pikachu wearing a hat, because even at that time they didn't have that. And then Snorlax wearing a jacket came out. So it felt like, oh, this is just like a really light event. But this now feels like one of their biggest events they've ever just done. To have both Palkia and Groudon and the other one that goes with them, and a new Gigantamax, and a new Pokemon, and a new egg, and the lead up to this event. Like at the end of the day, like their goal is to make a bunch of money. But they put a lot into it, where it's like, oh, I can see how you're going to get people's money now.
Yes, but and this is just one part of the event, right? I mean, we're just talking about the raid aspect, unless this event.
We were just literally talking about the raid aspect.
Just raids. That's not even like the rest of the event.
Yeah, that's not even talking about how the Safari Ball is debuting, and how they are releasing a bunch of outfits, and how Rockstar and Popstar Pikachu are returning, and
Max, and then what are they called? The Max Pokemon, or not the Max Pokemon? The Mighty Pokemon.
The Mighty Pokemon.
That's like a whole new concept as well. Like,
yeah, more likely to be XL or XXL. More likely to have high defense, attack, HP. They can also be shiny. You can use the Safari Ball to catch them. Just like, I don't know. This event kind of sounds awesome. Like, even if you don't pay like the $10 lead up that we talked about, like it genuinely feels like a weekend that you're like, yes, I want to take off this weekend because I want to at least do some of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like 2 months ago, it was like, well, this doesn't seem that great.
Yeah,
that's true. That they definitely filled it out quite a bit. I think, to your point, I do worry about places, and this is always a concern, right? You can't make everyone happy. Either you have Necrozma only in raids for 2 days, and then people who have one gym in their town are like, sweet, I can do the Necrozma raid because it's all that's here for 2 days. But then everybody who has 40 gyms around them is like, it's 40 Necrozma around me. I don't need this many. But then you can flip it the other way and, get a nice variety of stuff in the gyms. And the person with 1 or 2 gyms in their town is like, well, I hope that Snorlax or the jacket shows up at some point in the weekend, but there are now 9 different possibilities, so it's, hopefully they do rotate them out fairly frequently so that it can, give all kinds of options to people over that 2-day period of time.
I mean, why would they not rotate them out? Like, just rotate them out quicker. Like, I think one of the coolest events they did, and I don't even remember which one it was when they were like, we're bringing every legendary back. Was that was like a summer?
It was a Go Fest, wasn't it? And there was,
was like
like
Go
the
Fest
beasts were
Global.
in the wild. Like
Yes.
Lugia and Ho-Oh were in raids. Rayquaza was in raids the next day with like Kyogre and Groudon. I think it was maybe the first global Go Fest.
I think it was the first
like,
global Go Fest.
Yeah. There was a lot of legendary Pokemon in that.
And it was just like really
span.
cool I went to Mall America. It was just really cool getting to Mall America and seeing like a variety of legendary Pokemon and being like, don't need Kyogre, gonna skip over, let me go do this Ho-Oh. No one has ever said that. And then like, yes, seeing like Suicune, Entei, Raikou in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at one point in the future they did it where Latios was in the wild.
Yep.
That was really cool. There's like pros and cons, just like you said, of like only Necrozma, which makes it easier for what you said, smaller cities with only 1 or 2 gyms. And then, but like when we were in New York and it just everything was Necrozma. So it was just like, kind of nice to do something different, I guess. But, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess my only complaint is like 3 stars should just be Snorlax. Like why is Luxray in? Who's doing
because
Snorlax
Snorlax needs
Luxray?
to be rare. That's why.
Yeah. But also like I feel like they're stepping on their own toes at that point. Like the more Snorlax people see, the more they'll do and the more money they'll make. And
I mean,
this is a costume Pokemon that people clearly want.
Yeah. It's a fine line though too. And like cuz you also don't want to make if you do a rotation every so often, you don't want to make it too often because then people are going to be like, well, I don't have time to get people like for the 5-star raids. It's like we don't have enough time to know to go do the raid because we only have like 15 minutes and then it's a new Pokemon. Like there was a time when it was like 20 minutes rotating for Pokemon or something like that, wasn't it? Like I remember one of the events they were rotating really quickly. But there was only like 2 or something that were out. So it was like, okay, well, you can catch the next one maybe. So it's definitely a fine line. I feel like they need to make Snorlax rare because that's what they do. But I feel like when they had Cowboy Hat Snorlax, that wasn't that rare. But I can't remember. I think it was in the wild too.
It was.
Okay, because I feel like I came away from that.
I got a bunch in Seattle. Well, I guess that was in person. I got a bunch
even
in
the
Seattle.
global.
And I never
came away with a
rated
lot
for
of them. I feel like, but these aren't the jacket ones aren't in the wild, huh? They're just raids.
Yep.
Yeah. They learned their lesson. They're like, we can put we can put $1 paywall on this and it'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, at the time of recording, I will still be in Japan for this because as my option was Mall of America or nothing because it is November in the Midwest. It's not like I can't like let's go down to the park. No, it'll be way too cold for 8 hours. So I added some time to then find a place in Japan. Also, like every time I've been in Japan, the one community day that was I had to like play in Japan was the same time as the World Championship Finals. So it's like, guess I'm not playing Community Day here, I suppose. That sucks.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll be streaming the global while in Japan, and I'm very curious how that goes.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah,
for sure. So,
but also like still the risk of weather, but
of course,
anywhere for Pokemon Go with the weather.
Yeah, but there are also places like in Tokyo or in wherever you are in Japan. I'm assuming Tokyo, but there you can go to different like indoor places to play as well. Yeah. So that is possible. But yeah, always a good time playing in Japan. It's just so much happening.
Seems like a good event though. But we'll talk about it when I get back from Japan. Of how this in-person plus this global event feels. And it really does seem like there will be a Unova tour. And Unova tour will be like, okay, we did the Kyogres, we did the Palkias. You're not going to see them now for a while. They got their time. And now we're going to focus on the Reshiram's, the Kirums.
The Kirums.
Yes. They got to re-release the black and white Kirums.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Accidentally.
Which will, there's no way they don't have adventure effects. Yeah. So it's like, totally. here are your 2 Pokemon with adventure effects. You got them twice this year. You're probably not going to see them for a while because we're doing Reshiram and Kyogre. We're doing Reshiram and Zekrom. Reshiram and Kyogre, my favorite combo.
Blue Kyurem. Kyogre fused with Kyurem.
I mean, 5 does come after 4, so it would make sense that Unova Tour would be the year after the Sinnoh Tour, which was the year after the Hoenn Tour.
Yes.
So
you'd think that would be hilarious if they did like a Kalos tour next year.
They just do Kanto Tour. They're like, it's been long enough. Y'all like Bulbasaur, right? That's why Bulbasaur's not featured here. They're saving it for the Kanto Tour in February. Perfect. All right. Let's take one more break, and then we'll talk about Pocket. We'll be right back. And we are back from our break. All right, we talked a lot of Pocket last week. I mean, like last week's episode could have been like 3 hours long of Pocket. So we gotta space it out. This week, we still have to space it out because we could easily make this segment 90 minutes long. I want to focus on just like the battling part because Hannah went from not super interested to like getting ready for the Pocket World Championships.
No, not that. I still can't even talk about the battles very much. Like, I'm operating purely on vibes, is what I've been saying.
Oh, okay.
That can I talk about individual cards and putting together a deck? Well, no. But am I winning? Yeah. And it's fun.
Did you play any like traditional TCG?
I played TCG with one of my friends in college.
Okay. So like
every
go to like
weeks.
Target and buy like a battle deck.
No, I just used his decks. We would just sit down and play Pokemon for a little bit every couple of weeks. And that's most of my playing TCG experience.
Bobby, you're not hitting up tournaments every weekend?
As a kid, when it was just base set and jungle pretty much and fossil, I did tournaments and played the TCG then when I was younger. In the recent years, I taught my son how to play and my wife actually. We all played a little bit. And then I played some TCG online because I wasn't doing like in-person stuff. But then I dropped off of that, like, and then when it went to TCG Live, I was like, oh, this will be great. I can play it on my phone finally. And then I was like, I can barely play it on my phone finally.
Yeah.
So never really got into TCG Live. But I've definitely played
No one's truly playing TCG Live.
I'm sure there's like 5 people out there. They all battle each other every day.
Yeah. When it works.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think maybe if somebody's a newer listener, they might not know, but if you've been listening to the show for literally like a month, well, maybe not. I like a lot of early episodes of the show was very TCG focused because me and Will would go to a lot of tournaments, and that's when that would be like the only time I would see Will is like at a regionals or a nationals or something, because Will would play locally in DC and then I would play locally in like the Milwaukee and Chicago area. I think I had way more places to play just because I was between 2 big cities. But I think sometimes Will would drive out to go to a tournament, and and then I would, like, the first time I saw Will was at Indiana National. That was like the first time we met and everything. So yeah, I played pretty much full time every single weekend competitively for 3 years. So I feel like I like the TCG a lot. And part of the reason I stopped playing was incredibly time consuming. I think any like competitive thing is just super time. Like Sejin Park is not just rolling out of bed and being like, "Yep, I won a world tournament with Pachirisu." Like he's probably playing multiple matches every single day leading up to that victory.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the dude's very talented. Maybe he did just roll out of bed and win with Pachirisu. I don't think so. The other thing is like the cool thing about the TCG is it changes every 3 months. Like new cards come in, format changes. The bad thing about that is sometimes the decks that you liked or the money that you put in is no longer good. So I stopped playing when I got into playing with the end of Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which was the start of Black and White, which was like Noble Victors and Merging Powers and all those sets. And then I stopped playing near the end of Black and White, like literally right before X and Y, and that was like Burbank City Gym and Hypnotoxic Laser, and I was like, I'm done. Don't want to play against this anymore. I already feel like I have the I don't want to play against this anymore in Pocket, and I think a lot of people have that as well. So at least from what I've seen in conversations online is people do not want to play against Mewtwo.
Mm-hmm.
That is like somebody goes up and they flip a Ralts and a Mewtwo and they're like, I'll just concede. Like I don't want to play this.
Really?
Which I don't think Mewtwo's a problem. My problem and the I don't want to play this is against Articuno and Misty.
Yeah.
And usually you don't have to concede because what will happen is they will play Misty, they will immediately flip tails, and then they will concede.
Yeah.
And that feels very good.
It's a quick match usually.
Yeah, there's a big difference between the traditional card game, take 6 prizes, have 6 prizes, 60 card decks, versus Pocket, which is no prizes, 20 card decks, energy's not even in the deck. And there's not a lot of cards in the game right now. I think there's like 240 cards or something if you're counting the secrets.
Something like that. Somewhere around there.
So
230, 250.
The best deck as of recording this podcast is variations of Pikachu EX. So usually that is 2 Pikachu EX, 2 Zapdos EX, and then a combination of different electric Pokemon. So that might be Electrode, that might be Zebstrika, that might be Baby Zapdos. But I don't feel like Pikachu gets as much hate as Mewtwo because Pikachu can be different. Like some are running Zebstrika and some are running Electrode and some don't have 2 Zapdos EX. They only have 1 Zapdos EX. Where Mewtwo has to be 2 Mewtwo EX, 2 Ralts, 2 Kirlia, 2 Gardevoir, and that's it. And sometimes there's a Meowth, sometimes there's a Fossil, sometimes there's a Kangaskhan. But like the core of that deck is I need to set up my Gardevoir. I need to set up my Mewtwo. As somebody who has the Mewtwo deck, I play Meowth, by the way. I don't play the Fossil. I don't think it's as good as the people who see it and go like, I don't want to play against this. I truly don't think it's like that good. I think Pikachu is a much better deck. I think Pikachu is much more consistent. And I think Pikachu is easier to play. But I don't think Pikachu gets the hate because sometimes you'll see an Electabuzz in Pikachu. Sometimes you'll see a Pincurchin. Pikachu's like a lot easier to build because you can just like fill it out with other electric Pokemon that are like kind of okay.
Yeah.
So those are like the 2 best decks. Then you have all the water decks, which rely on Misty. And that's going to be mostly Articuno. You're maybe not going to see Blastoise, but it works the same with Misty. I think Starmie in itself, even without Misty, is a crazy good card. And it's that's what blows me away about like Articuno players is like, even if you missed your Misty, like Starmie is so easy to set up and so good in general.
Is it
that it's crazy that they'll just concede?
Is it because you have to it's 2 steps to get to Starmie versus like Articuno is just a basic, so you can pull it with a Pokeball and then you're getting it right into your hand. Whereas like Starmie, it's like you have to draw a Starmie, then put it on a Staryu, then get the 2 energy or however order you do that in. You know, I feel like Starmie is a great card. Like no retreat cost, 90 damage for 2 energy. And it's got like 130 hit point. Like it's like that's a great card.
Yeah, no, it is.
And I am surprised I don't see it more often. Like I do see a lot of Articuno, but yeah, I'm rarely coming up against the Starmie EX unless you're playing the Lapras event against the computer.
Well, I think the problem with Articuno and why I don't like it is because it kind of breaks the rules of the game. And that's why it's annoying to me. So like there's a big conversation of whether going first is actually bad.
Yep.
And there was, so when back in my day when I was playing the TCG in person, there was something called donking, where you could donk your opponent. And so how the TCG works is turn 1 is technically turn 0 for you. So if you're going first, it's turn 0, and then your opponent is actually, it's their first turn. And back in Heart Gold, Soul Silver and early Black and White, people would build decks that would donk you, which would mean that you lose before turn 1. And a really popular card to donk was Tornadus, because you could set a double colorless, you could move some stuff around, you could get 1 more energy on Tornadus, and then you could do like 80 damage on turn 1. And if they just started with a 60 HP Abra, like they lost before they could do anything. So that would be a donk. Like they didn't even have a chance to play the game. And so they had to change rules to be like, okay, well, either you can't attack on the first turn, or you can't play a supporter on the first turn, or there are rules, because statistically, if you went first, if both players were of equal skill level, but whoever went first had such an advantage of winning purely on going first. So their whole goal, and of course this exists in Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, their whole goal was, how can we make turn 0 feel fair to both players, but also not make it feel worse? And that's clear of what they were trying to achieve in Pocket. So you cannot attach an energy on turn 0 in Pocket, but you can play a supporter, and you can play your item cards, and you can technically attack. But the rule is you cannot play an energy going first. So Misty kind of breaks that. So if somebody starts with an Articuno and they play Misty, which is their 1 supporter they're allowed to play, and they can attach 2 to 3 energy, now they get to attack you before you even get to play, which is fundamentally I think what they were trying to prevent. They were like, you go first, but you don't get to attack. And you can get donked in Pocket by pretty much any water deck, but Articuno is the best one that does that.
Right.
So there have been matches where it's like literally the game is determined by a coin flip, not the coin flip of starting the game, but like if they get 3 energies, they ultimately won before I even get to start. And if they flip the coin and get no energies, they almost always concede, because that was like their, and that's why like back in the day, donk decks didn't win tournaments.
Right.
They only won like the first couple matches because they're so incredibly no, I'll be the first to say, when you donk somebody, feels really good. Like, not like, one, the match is over, you won, and now you got like 30 minutes to be like, oh, I can go get like a slice of pizza as everyone else is still playing. It felt great. Like, there's a reason to donk. But you almost never saw donk decks like win an entire tournament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and in the case of Misty, in Articuno, and I know it's a popular deck. It's a very popular deck. To do that, you also have to get heads to go first. You have to have Misty be one of the cards that pops up at first for you, or you pull a Professor's Research and, it becomes one of those two cards. Oh, no, because it's a supporter, right? So if you do the Professor's Research, there's no Misty. You can't use Misty. So it's got to pop. Okay, so you got to have heads to go first. It's got to pop up in the first cards that you draw. You then have to get 3 more heads in a row.
Yep.
To put the energy
Incredibly
down.
luck reliant.
And you have to hope the Articuno popped up, or if you have Pokeball, that pops up and then brings you Articuno. There's like a lot of luck that goes into that process working completely, to your point as to why, like, I feel like it's very hit or miss. Like, I just feel like it's so scattered with like how well that can work, unless the coin flips aren't 50-50. But that's like then going a whole different.
I don't think the game is like cheating coin flips. I think the Articuno situation gets worse if they end up adding more trainers, because one of the variations of Articuno is 2 Articunos and then 18 trainer cards.
Yes.
So you're definitely starting with Articuno, and your Pokeball is definitely getting you your other Articuno. And you have a pretty, like, when you're only running 2 Articunos and 18 trainers, you have a pretty high chance of starting with Misty in your hand.
So actually, this brings up a good point. How does Pocket determine that you're going to end up with at least one basic Pokemon on your initial draw?
There is no penalty. So, like, in
you
the
just draw again? Like, I've never seen it where there's not.
It doesn't do an animation for it.
Oh, okay.
Like that whole part, like, you know, like how it searches a Pokemon in your deck and you don't see what it's looking at. It's the same thing at the start of the game. So in like the traditional TCG, if I just ran 4 Terrakions, this was a real deck in black and white. It was just 4 Terrakions. That was it. Out of 60 cards, you ran 4 Pokemon, and then you ran 10 energy, and then you ran like 40 trainer cards. That was a real deck. It was awesome. It was fantastic. But the problem with that deck is you would draw no Pokemon, and then your opponent got an extra card at the start of their turn every time you didn't draw a Pokemon. Actually, I think a deck won the World Championships that was just 4 Iron Thorns. That's all it was 4 Iron Thorns. I think it won the World Championship. Same thing. Like, every time they didn't draw Iron Thorns, their opponent got to draw a card. So ultimately, Articuno is that. But you never see that. There's no like, oh, you didn't draw an Articuno, I get a bonus card. That doesn't exist in this game.
Right. Okay.
So there's like no penalty for doing that.
Sure.
But like, it's clear to me that I don't know if I completely agree with going first is the worst, because you get to evolve sooner, and that is very good, especially if you're running something like Gardevoir. Like, if you get your Gardevoir out first and Gardevoir is getting you energy, you're winning the energy game, and you can only do that by going first, obviously assuming that you have the cards you need to have.
Yeah, but that's a fairly rare instance. Like, usually, even if you can evolve first, you don't have the opportunity to get the energy you need to run the evolved Pokemon.
Well, Gardevoir is special because
that's why I said it was a different, fairly rare.
I think it's a rare instance because the deck that is more consistent and good is Pikachu, and you don't need to evolve Pikachu.
Yeah.
And so, like, the thing you have to evolve is like Electrode or Zebstrika, but those are situational cards of like, I need Zebstrika to like close out the game, or I just really need Electrode for like the free retreat. So when I just promote Electrode, fix my bench, retreat Electrode, promote what I want. So like, they're not needed. Where like, I guess you could argue Gardevoir's not needed for Mewtwo. But if we lived in a format right now, which we don't, where evolving was necessary and important, you would want to go first. But I think that's why people feel like going first is so bad, because no one's playing evolutions. They're just playing 2 Articunos. They're just playing 2 Pikachus. Some people are just playing 2 Mewtwo's. Like, I don't have Gardevoir, but Mewtwo's still good enough. So
that's the thing, right? like there's so many basic Pokemon that do so much already that when you have like a Blastoise deck or a Charizard deck or Venusaur, it's like you got to get it to Venusaur, you got to get it to Charizard, and there's all these decks right now where, to your point, like Pikachu's just out and just working like
Yeah,
in turn
I think
in turn
the
two,
second
you know?
this, I don't think going first is as bad as people say. In theory. The problem right now is we just don't have cards that reward you to evolve. And that's why people are just like, I'm just going to run 2 Articuno. And if I win the coin flip, I win the game. And that's over as fast. Like, I totally get why people would be like, oh, I didn't hit my coin flips. I'll just concede and do it again. Like, because the barrier to entry is so low. But the second they introduce rare candy, the second they introduce a Pokeball where I can search out a middle evolution. There was a very popular card during Black and White, I think even before Black and White, called Computer Search, which was just take a Pokemon in your hand and switch it out with a Pokemon in your deck. So it's like, cool, I got a Voltorb, don't need the Voltorb, I'm going to switch it out for Kirlia. Okay, now I can evolve my Ralts. There's nothing in the game right now to reward you or to like benefit you to evolve, to have like a Blastoise line or a Charizard line or a whatever other, like Alakazam or Machamp. You can still do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. And usually, like, maybe I would maybe say like Venusaur is probably the best stage 2, because Venusaur pairs really well with Erica for like the healing. But I'm almost positive that they don't want player 1 to attack on turn 1 to make it fair. But Misty breaks that entire thing.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if, one, they fix that, where like, yeah, you can attach the energy, but you still can't attack because we just didn't want people to attack on turn 1. Or they actually change cards. Like, it's a digital only game, and these cards aren't real cards. Like, Pokeball doesn't do what it does in this game that it does in real life.
Yeah.
Because in real life, you got to flip a coin. If heads, then you get to search for a Pokemon. In this game, it's just, we'll randomly get you a Pokemon. So, like, do they make adjustments? Do they go like 80% of all Misty players are conceding after turn 1 because they're not getting heads, but also like the ones that aren't conceding are guaranteed to win? Like, they have to have those statistics. Like, I think Misty is the worst card in the game because it breaks the rules of the game.
It does break the rules of the game. I don't think they will. I have nothing to go off of this. I actually have not played other online or digital only like card games. I just feel, based on how the TCG goes, like I don't think they're going to change a card that is already out there. Now I could see them like, I think instead they bring out a card that somehow counters that in some way, that makes that card less like powerful or something, or they change a mechanic of the game, like okay, you don't attack on turn 1 or something like that, rather than actually change the move the card has. Again, I don't really have anything I'm going off of on that. I just think that they wouldn't do that. I think they would do something else to even it out rather than change something that's already in game.
Yeah, I could imagine them changing the rules, but changing the actual cards, even though it's possible, feels like something that would get a lot of pushback. But I don't know. I also haven't played digital card games very much like this.
I think you get less pushback from the community if you change other things about the game to even it out, rather than change a card that people have like. It feels different than if you're investing into getting that card, that card itself completely changes, because it's like, well, I invested in that card. Like, build it out so that it makes it not as strong in some way.
In games like Pokemon Unite, they rebalance Pokemon all the time. So I see where the idea comes from.
Okay. I knew this conversation was going to come up. They did do this in real life. So in Black and White, they introduced a card called Pokemon Catcher. and it worked like Sabrina. Except you get to pick. So I want to. You got that Staryu on the bench with 10 HP. I'm going to play Pokemon Catcher. Okay, that is now active. I'm going to knock it out, and I win the game. It was a trainer card. I could play 4 in a turn if I wanted to. It was not a supporter.
Oh.
They changed it to be a coin flip. So in X and Y, a couple sets later, it was the same exact card. They changed the text to say, you must flip a coin. If heads, now you can play this. Same title, same image, but they added that extra line of dialogue. So all of the old catchers, even the gold secret catcher that they released, was now useless because they changed the text.
Okay.
And then they went a step further and they got rid of that card completely. And they introduced Boss's Orders, which was the original catcher of you get to pick exactly what you want, but they changed it from a trainer to a supporter, which is what Sabrina is.
Okay.
Except Sabrina, you don't get to pick.
But that's what I'm saying. So I know it's digital only. So it's like instead of like waiting down the line and introducing a new card and then phasing out like the old stuff, they can just change the cards on the fly because they're not physically printing these cards for people to play with. But I still feel like they would do it in a way where, well, yeah, I guess, I don't know. It would take too long to like phase it out over time.
The change to Sabrina is, or sorry, not the change to Sabrina. I think the change to Misty is flip 2 coins if heads attach 2 water energy. I think that's still incredibly good. I don't think anyone takes it out of their deck. Like almost every single water Pokemon are probably sitting at 3. So even with the Articuno situation, you don't need 17 water energy on Articuno. You don't even need 6 water energy on Articuno. Like you just need 3. The only reason you would ever attach another water energy to Articuno is to retreat, because it's a true retreat cost. But like the only water Pokemon I think that takes advantage of extra water energy, and I could be wrong, is like Blastoise, which is 3 water energy. It's 1 water energy, 2 colorless for 60, and then it will do extra damage if there's 2 extra water energy on it, which is 5. It just like
Lapras does that as well. Regular Lapras.
Oh, Lapras does that as well.
Has Hydro Pump. Yeah.
But like getting 2 energy on a turn plus playing your energy is already so incredibly powerful. Like even with Mewtwo, and people think Mewtwo is like the best deck in the game. I don't think it is. It's a good deck. But like even with Mewtwo, you can only have 2 Gardevoirs because it's 2/2/2, 2 Ralts, 2 Kirlia, 2 Gardevoirs. And so that's 2 energy each turn I can attach plus my 3rd energy. And I have to get all of those cards out. I have to get Gardevoir to a stage 3. And the fact that Misty can be played on turn 1, and again, it is a coin flip, I understand. But like, oh, cool. Articuno has 5 energy on it. It's turn 1. They're attacking me for 80. And I haven't even started the match. Like, it's just not fun. And I think the problem with Misty is like what happens when a Kyogre comes. Like you don't have to evolve like Kyogre EX or Lugia EX or just a regular Lugia. Like the more water Pokemon they add, the more just like options a Misty deck has.
Well,
and it's weird because like Blaine and Brock and Lieutenant Surge, they're all Pokemon focused trainers. Brock is like Onyx and Graveler, Blaine is like Ninetales and Rapidash, Lieutenant Surge is Magneton and Raichu, and Misty is like any water Pokemon you want. What you want a Psyduck with 30 water energies? We can make that happen. Does Psyduck need 30 water energies? Nope, but it can happen on turn 1. Like I guess they could change Misty to like only Blastoise and Lapras. Like I'm very confused why Misty exists. Unless they knew that like let's make one card that's kind of doesn't follow the rules of every other card.
Right. Well, I don't know. They had to have thought about that as they were putting this all together. I mean, it is weird that it stands out so differently from the rest of the gym leader cards, right? And
it's the only gym leader that doesn't have specific Pokemon in its rule sets. Like Koga is coughing Arbok.
Erica's heal any grass Pokemon for 50.
Oh, you're right.
But that's
right.
heal. That's not attack, right? That's
and
not
Sabrina.
an attack thing.
Wait, what is Sabrina? Oh, well, Sabrina
is a totally different.
Yeah. Sabrina's just boss's orders. I don't know why they just didn't.
Yeah.
Like, it's very confusing that Giovanni's in the game because Giovanni is normally boss's orders, but Giovanni in this game is just plus power. Like, you couldn't just make a plus power card.
Yeah, that is weird. So I guess this does bring up the thought of like, are they going to phase cards out in this game at some
or like
point?
How fast are they going to phase cards out?
And then how fast would they do that, right? Because this game, we have to remember, this game is not battle focused from the side of DNA and the Pokemon Company. This is
as somebody who just got their Apex Emblem F45 battles. I disagree.
This, as well as how they're marketing this game, is not. It's about the collecting, and not about and battling. Seems, at least the way that they have put this out there, it doesn't. It just seems like it's not the main focus for them right now, and so it does lead to questions like, I could understand them coming out with a new set somewhat often because it's about collecting. They want people to collect the cards. But then it leads to, are they going to phase sets out? Are they not going to? And then they do what you said and they start changing the actual cards because they can do that on the fly. There's a lot of like things we don't know in how they would try to fix something like that. Or if they really do believe they need to fix it, they might say like, hey, we did this on purpose. And again, like, I know people don't like playing the Misty deck, but there's so many things that actually have to, if you actually think about how much has to happen for that Misty deck to work on that first turn, it's quite a lot. As someone who plays a Marowak EX deck, and everything I'm basing my hopes on are 2 coin flips that are gonna, go heads, so I can knock out an immersive Mewtwo or a Mewtwo EX. There's a lot that has to go right for that Misty deck to do anything.
Yeah, and I think that the difference though between your deck, any Marowak deck, or any Executor deck, and I will tell people, if you are not very good at battling, or you're new to battling, or you don't have a lot of good cards, I think the like Diglett, Dugtrio, Marowak, Cubone deck is really good, because even if you're not super good, you can win that game by like 50%. I can't be attacked, or I can hit 2 heads and do 160 damage with Marowak, right? Yep. Like you are openly choosing a deck on chance. And Executor is the same. It's like I think it's like guaranteed 40 damage, but if you flip the heads, you could do 80 damage for 1 energy. So I think I think they're easier decks to pilot, and they're more RNG focused, and that's totally okay. Like, obviously in like the video game, you could run Fissure and to hope that you win, and that's fine.
Right.
My problem with Misty is it just breaks rule 1 of the game, assuming that it works. But like, I still have a problem with it breaking rule 1 of the game. And once you get, like, if you got 2 heads and you attach, you're at 3, and now you're doing 80 damage consistently with no drawback, and it's impossible to catch up. Whereas, like, if I'm playing against Marowak and Bobby set up perfectly, I can still go like, well, if he flips 2 tails, I have a chance. And then Bobby flips 2 tails, and I'm like, I have a chance. Like, he flipped 2 tails. Like, I'm still in it. Where, like, with Articuno, there's no penalty once you get, and that's why you see so many concede on turn 1. It's like, oh, like like they don't want to act, like so many Articunos can still win the match after turn 1 if they fail tails, but they don't want to. They don't want to play the game. It's like a mindset of like, I don't actually want to do this. I just want to flip. And then there's like the mindset of like, oh, I flipped, so now I ultimately win. Whereas at least with Marowak, you got to play the game to get to Marowak. You just don't start with Marowak.
No, I understand. But still, like, there's still a lot that has to happen. That, like, I get it. You're just playing flipping a coin and hoping that, like, you just get that perfect roll of basically heads 4 times over the course of, like, your first turn, right? Like, going first and then 3 heads to get the 3 energy attached to your Articuno, on top of Misty being in the first, like, 5 cards you pull or whatever. But I guess, like, I don't know if, like, would adding losses to people's because right now there's no losses on your record.
Yeah, I was
So,
just about to say, this seems like a place where a ladder comes in handy, potentially.
yeah, but not even a ladder as much as I feel like if I go look at my battle record and it's only showing me my wins, then it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm seeing how many times I've won. I'm not thinking about how many times I've played, but I am seeing how many times I've won. Where once you start to see a battle record where you're seeing your wins and your losses, does that make people go away from a deck like Misty that is so much chance? And yeah, they're quick. If you just concede matches right away, they're quick because you can just jump into the next one and try to flip again. But if you start to see your losses rack up because you're playing a deck like that where you probably lose a lot more than you win, then does it maybe stop people from doing that to see those losses
that's a
rack
good point.
I don't know.
Because unless you are keeping track yourself. Like, I got to 45 relatively quickly for the Apex thing. And most of that was streamed. So I could go back in my stream and I could actually count how many times I lost. I don't remember. But like, there were a handful of games where it was like, oh, I lost because I didn't draw, or like, again, I don't know what, like, the longevity of these battles are, and obviously we have a very limited set. It's brand new. There's not a lot of decks, but you can kind of figure out if you're going to win or lose after, like, turn 1. Especially, like if they had a really good opening hand and you're like, I don't have a Professor Oak, I don't have a Pokeball, I got a lonely Voltorb out here.
Yeah.
Like, I need a miracle to happen to come back from this. And I don't know if that's just because there's not enough cards in the game, or, you know, if I wanted to add a different electric Pokemon to Pikachu, I'm pretty limited. Like, I got Electabuzz, I got Pincurchin, I got Helioptile. Like, and I don't know why you would run Helioptile over, like, Electrode. Electrode's just kind of better. So you're like,
maybe you don't have an Electrode, Steve.
That's
maybe
true.
You didn't pull Voltorb yet, so you got to put Helioptile in your Pikachu deck, and it does kind of work okay.
That's true. I don't know. I could definitely see them changing Misty. And if they don't change Misty, I think you have an excellent point of, if they started showing losses, maybe people would be like, I don't want my losses. Like, because you're right. It's so easy just to, like, concede, get back in. And that's probably faster than playing out a match for most people.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Especially people that are trying to just do the 45 for the emblems, right? Like,
yeah,
people, like you said, people want to get there as quick as possible. Well, throw up a Misty deck and you're just conceding every, minute, or you're winning very quickly, and you can kind of get to your 45 quicker, even though you might be playing 180 games and you lost, 100 of them or something like that to get your 45. You're not seeing your losses, so
yeah. I think even I'm sure by the time this comes up, there will probably be more decks popping up. But because New Zealand had 30 days, we learned that Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX were the 2 best decks in the format. And really, during that 30 days, no one talked about Articuno. It wasn't until, and I'm sure somebody was playing it, it wasn't until, like, grassroots tournaments popping up where Articuno won one of those tournaments of, like, 40 people, and people were like, what, a deck with 2 Articuno and 18 trainers? Like, that's crazy, and also very easy to build. And then it felt like, okay, Pikachu, Mewtwo, Articuno, and then, like, Marowak was, like, very, like, B tier of, like, just coin flips and stuff, which is, like, fine. And then all of a sudden, this, like, last week, it was like, well, Primeape came out of nowhere just because of a single Mankey card. And like literally the day before we started recording that, people were like, "Oh, I think Wigglytuff's going to be big," and I think we said last week Wigglytuff is, or Jiggly, there's going to be a better Jigglypuff card coming eventually.
Mhm.
So it is cool that like literally one Mankey card made like fighting decks more viable, and ideally a Jigglypuff is going to make Wigglytuff more viable. I think that's super cool. And I've also seen that like I think it's like they're calling it aggro fire, where it's just like Ninetales and Rapidash with Blaine.
Yeah.
Which I actually lost like when I needed like 7 more wins last night, and my only loss was against Ninetales Ninetales Rapidash, because like I didn't know what it did. I was like, oh, somebody's playing Blaine. I was like, I don't know what Blaine does.
It destroys you. That's what it does.
Oh, it adds like a bunch of more, like it's like a better Giovanni plus power.
Mhm.
And I was like, dang, that's really cool. And then I went on like Blue Sky, and somebody was talking about like how like aggro Ninetales was like how they got their 45 wins, and I was like, I just saw one for the first time. Like I'm sure we're going to be seeing more. So it is really cool. It's almost like you give more people the game, and more people discover more ways to win. Like, sorry, New Zealand,
surprise, surprise.
Where was your Ninetales? Where was your
Where was your Articuno?
Yeah. New Zealand didn't think of that.
Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking back, because I was thinking like, well, they could just add a trainer or something. But to your point, like, you're not using anything when that person hits 3 water energy and attacks you, right? Like, you've never had a chance to do anything. So like, unless the trainer is like, if you have this in your hand, it negates Misty's entire thing.
You've activated my trap card, Misty.
Then yeah, there is really nothing they can do there. And I don't know. I still think it would be weird to see them change an active card. Like, to your point with the Pokemon catcher thing, that's a little bit different in that like it waited until the next, like, until X and Y came out. They came out with the new card. They had to phase out the old stuff, right? It was when things got phased out. So it wasn't like they didn't change a card on the fly where they're like, well, this actually does this now, even though it says that, you know? And obviously they can do that in a game like this because they can just change the text on the digital version of the card. And I guess they could do that. It feels weird, but I guess I'm just thinking about it from a TCG in real life like aspect, where that just doesn't obviously make sense for them to do on the fly. So like, next week all of a sudden Misty has a 2, you can only do this 2 times instead of 3 or something, whatever, like, feels very weird to me. But I think
hot take, if Misty was just play a card, attach 1 water energy to any Pokemon, no coin flip, it would be a better card. I would take that consistency any day of the week.
Yeah, you're all about the consistency though, not the coin flips, even though Mr. Play Zapdos with a 4 coin flip.
But like, I think those Articuno decks would be better if it was just like consistent add 1 water energy.
Mm-hmm. It'd make people play the game.
Way better than a coin flip.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to play the match, right?
You'd actually have to like play out the entire match.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I get more enjoyment when I watch them concede after they fail a coin flip than I do just winning.
Yes, true.
Them conceding feels great. Okay, well, I think we'll have to save more TCG stuff for next week. There's so much to talk about for Pocket that we haven't even like got to. So, we'll wrap up there. If it sounds like next week is a continuation of this week, it's because it is. But thank you for listening. Thanks for making it to the end. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Hannah. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
Super putting 4 Terrakion in 1 deck and just trainer cards. That's what I'm learning here, right? That's how to win.
Crushing Hammer.